It's update day, and today we're breaking down everything that was changed, added, or adjusted with Season 3's update 1.17 for Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. As we go along, drop your thoughts below, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. As well, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel with code ESPRESSO for 30% off certain items, but for now, let's jump into Season 3's update and everything it changed. Firstly, we know about the seasonal offerings. We're going to be able to breeze through these because we've talked about these quite a few times. We have a new battle pass with 100 tiers of earnable items, more with the Black Cell bundle, new operators of Alejandro and Valeria, new weapons of the FJX Imperium at what was previewed to be Sector C4 and the Cronen Squall at Sector C11, additional new cosmetics following a sort of red and white and black theme. Kind of reminds me a bit of a variation of like the Asimov skins from CSGO. Not sure if anybody else picked up on that or sees that. Maps of Pelayo's Lighthouse and Black Gold in 6v6, Alley, Black Site, Exhibit, and Shipment, and the return of Gunfight as a 2v2 single life round-based game mode, and Rohan Oil as well as Sattiq Cave Complex and Ground War and Invasion. We also have new modes of Gunfight and Cranked, new prestige levels to grind out, upwards of Prestige 13, which unlocks upwards of level 650 as the new season cap, new challenges for the unlock of Season 2 weaponry, now no longer in the battle pass of the ISO Hemlock, requiring you to get 20 long shot kills with assault rifles, the KV Broadside to get 10 one-shot kills with shotguns, and the dual Kodachi is tasking you to get 20 kills with melee weapons. But that was the seasonal stuff and things we knew of, so not to keep you too long on that, let's move on over to the next important gameplay changes and other adjustments to all the experiences here within Modern Warfare 2. One of the big things was the weapon tuning here in this update, but as per norm, we'll have another video out in a couple of hours breaking down everything that changed here with this. Otherwise, we'd be here for like an additional 5 to 10 minutes just running down changes to weapons, and there's a lot more to get into here that weapon tuning will have its own separate spotlight. But let's start with general changes globally. Firstly, blueprints now no longer have those pro tuning removed from attachments for bundles that you end up getting or blueprints that are pro tuned you end up earning. And also, you should then be able to preview those numbers now that come along with it. Previously, if you went in and just looked at anything about that pro tuned weapon attachment, well, it would get rid of everything. So it was kind of like was it really tuned? It was, but it was like a tree falling in the woods with no one around. It happens, but you can't see it. Bomb Squad saw an explosive damage mitigation applying to armor in Warzone 2 only. Damage feedback with visual feedback adjusted to increase visibility when taking damage has been added. Death effects are now visible when killing AI. The dive mechanic saw a fire delay reduction, meaning it's a little bit faster, and the slide ended up increasing the slide speed slightly. Nothing really about shooting or sliding yet, unfortunately, which is interesting. We saw that round-ending kills in single life modes will now track properly on the scoreboard. Free-for-all style game modes that result in a tie will now display as a tie for all players who achieve the top score. This update added a black fader when spectating teammates in core multiplayer to avoid gaining map information in areas of the map outside of the alive teammate locations. So what we had in ranked play to have that competitive integrity still intact, now added to regular core modes as well. We saw audio changes where it added a new cinematic music slider to the front end, which allows players to control the UI music, game intros, outros, and cinematic sequences separately from music that happens during gameplay. There are also various refinements to footstep and occlusion mixes, something that we've seen kind of on and off again here for the last couple of updates. We saw social changes where there's a group request manager, and there's also quality of life improvements to request to join groups on the social menu. The new recruit a friend feature was added in here where you can end up recruiting friends that are new to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2.0, or any facet of the game right now, but you actually end up getting rewards by recruiting people. You end up getting the Moondust SMG blueprint, Akimbo sidearm blueprint, 8-bit aggressor emblem, Let's Rock sticker, and player and weapon double XP tokens along the way. We saw PC specific quality of life changes like keybind presets being added in, which is definitely cool. Bug fixes, there is an insane amount of these. So just to save you guys the monotony and the multiple minutes here of just reading off every single bug fix, on screen right now as it's scrolling here for you, that entire list of bug fixes that we were referring to. But again, just saving a bit more time here and hopefully not being as boring in the process. Now, let's jump over into mode specific stuff, starting out with ranked play here because we are still talking about Modern Warfare 2 and multiplayer to a degree. Ranked play, we saw the Cronen Squall battle rifle added to the ban list, not usable within ranked. All battle rifles are off the table with that. We saw the skill rating reset for Season 3, or rather what they call the end of season setback, where Bronze through Crimson all start one division down at Tier 1. So if you're Platinum 2, you start at Gold 1 this time and then have to work your way back up. The highest you can be set back is Diamond 1, but above Diamond, so within Iridescent, that's where things look to stay the same for the most part. We have new rewards this season incoming, and for those that didn't complete these Season 2 rewards, unfortunately, those are now lost to the test of time, and those are now no longer earnable, but we now have this season for 5 wins the Season 3 competitor weapon sticker, 10 wins the Pro Issue TAC 56 blueprint, 25 wins the I'm That Dog weapon charm, 50 wins is the typical large weapon decal, 75 wins is the ranked play Season 3 loading screen, and 100 wins is the Season 3 ranked veteran weapon camo that is universal, can apply to every single weapon in the game. Rewards from the past season placements have now also been distributed, or should have been distributed by this point. Jumping over to the Warzone 2.0 side of things, firstly, one big thing in terms of map adjustments was Ashika Island now has additional sort of locations around the port point of interest. This now including a cargo ship and several submarines outside of that area, adding new potentially hot drop locations into the mix. We see the tempered plate carrier being added in across the board, which upgrades the player's armor plate carrier to improve armor plate efficiency. Now only requiring 2 plates, 75 HP per armor plate as opposed to 50, requiring you to previously have 3 plates for the same 150 HP bonus. These can be found in regular loot as well as strongholds. Now the bomb drone is now back into Warzone 2.0 with a reduction to the damage of the bomb drone so that no longer one-hit kills players if you are fully armored. I still think it's corny to have to begin with, but it's back in the mix. The heavy chopper was re-enabled in solos, duos, trios, and quads, but added a new heavy gas can that's unique to this weapon that is required for initial takeoff, so you shouldn't see it abused as much as it was beforehand. Spawn locations for these, in Battle Royale there's 1 of 5 possible spawn locations, and 1 heavy chopper gas can is included as a guaranteed special stronghold mission reward. The gas mask ended up having a slight buffer for when the player delays it from being put on or taken off. This should hopefully catch situations where a further delay is actually something that the player wants, as opposed to it being immediately dropped, and the interrogation feature is something that was decreased in the time that it takes to perform to 3 seconds, down from 5, though it did add a grace period if you are the down player who is immediately eliminated after a successful interrogation, that guaranteeing that your squad will be pinged at least once up to 3 times during that grace period, but giving some time for the player that interrogated, but also not something that keeps the enemy team pinged for as long as they were before. For Warzone, we saw some quality of life things where there's mantle assist improvements, advanced UAV improvements, where that in particular enemy and AI combatants will now appear differently while using advanced UAVs, which is tremendous because that was something that they all showed as the same dots. That was something that persisted since COD Next in the first playable build that we had, so big adjustment here with that one. And there's also a difference in the kill streak banner positioning now, where it appears a bit further up the screen. It's no longer overlapping with the player's reticle. Not sure why that ever happened to begin with, but it is something that now is fixed finally. We of course have that new massive resurgence mode coming into play with this update as well, where it's essentially resurgence but on Al Mazrah and 150 players. So this might be the mode that ends up being the game mode you want to go for gameplays potentially. While that might be preemptive to say, you do have a decent chance to at least try it. So I'm going to be jumping in here, excited for that one as well. We saw some private match additions where Ashika is now available in private matches. Private match spectating has been adjusted and enabled for Al Mazrah and Ashika Island. The after action report is something that it will now show a bit more completed, and the bird's eye perk is finally back in the rotation here. It's been re-enabled with adjustments that now activate when a player uses a UAV kill streak, and now enemy UAVs no longer trigger bird's eye. That was the big problem with bird's eye beforehand. You could see every single UAV subsequently, no matter if it was on your team or an enemy squad that was calling in a UAV anywhere around the map. UAVs activated by the player using bird's eye will provide enemy headings, so showing you the location they're ending up, like where they're looking, and UAV pings activated by the player using bird's eye are now slightly larger. We of course have a new gulag introduced into the mix as well. We have new UAV towers where this will cost 2,000 per activation and last 20 seconds per activation, giving an audible notification when one is activated. There will be icons that show that it is an active tower, so just know that you'll probably give up your position in exchange for activating it, and other players can activate these as well, so just be on the lookout for that. Redeploy drones have come to Al Mazrah, hopefully helping you traverse the map a little bit easier. We have a new stronghold hold positions operation where you have to locate and defend a position inside a stronghold from the enemies. There's a new black site that has been added to the rotation near Rohan Oil in the northern sector of the map. There's a new Champions Quest blueprint, so for those that end up getting the nuke, you get another blueprint as well, so that's something definitely nice. And we see gas circle pacing improvements where it decreased the time paused between gas circle movements, increasing the pace of play overall. Most wanted contracts now have drops for every successful completion, and stronghold rewards saw a reduction in the number of white stronghold supply boxes that spawned down to 1, whereas it previously was 2, and increased the loot found in white supply boxes as a result. Intel contracts were slightly changed where there were spawn location differences. The upload point will now drop loot upon completion. The search for the laptop segment was actually entirely taken off, and then buy stations were adjusted in a lot of different ways. Gas masks and portable radars will now be available with unlimited stock at every single buy station, but we also saw changes to the prices on a ton of different things. On screen, we'll see that rolling here for you guys again, just so we're not reading off every single change here made to the pricing, because there is a lot to them. Now, they did state that this would not be a sort of certain definitive change to all these cash economies within the buy stations, but they will see continual evaluation of prices to see if these are where they should be, if we should see further adjustments. So that's something that'll be sort of a living and breathing change upcoming still. The loadout drop marker in that menu was something that was added. It was pressed down once on the directional controller to get a loadout drop marker, making a bit more muscle memory and something you don't have to navigate the UI if you're in a pinch situation. And also the number of buy stations was increased to 42, up from 31 in Al Mazrah, which is a huge difference here, and hopefully should make for some nice pacing in the ability to get utility. Ammo caches ended up having additional locations added, and Ashika Island, we saw rebalanced rewards for the data heist public event, the sea treasure machine, and the sea lion statue side quests. We also saw, in terms of quality of life, new minimap ping anchoring, spawn protection timeout, black site key visibility, that now dropping and visible on the attack map for all squads. Loadout drop visibility, where a squad loadout drop is now blue, while contested loadout drop that anyone can get is yellow. Gulag item HUDs have been adjusted, and object elevation arrows for buy stations, contracts, and loot now have a small up or down arrow on the attack map to better visualize where they are above or below you. Now, as for DMZ, getting into this, we have a lot of stuff. A lot of it we already talked about again, so we can breeze through that kind of stuff. The new faction of Redacted has arrived with a few different tiers of missions, though more coming at mid-season. The barter system, again, allowing players to gear up during deployment with sort of crafting recipes. The workbench to allow you to end up adjusting contraband weapons you found, earned, or were just available. Active duty slots, again, kind of acting as a sort of active profile for how many different characters you can end up having, and jumping right back in if you, say, lose all of your stuff. A private exfil has been added that you can end up purchasing. The supply run contract is in there. The rebreather, skeleton key, armor plate carriers, new backpacks, all added in as well. So those things, of course, stuff we have talked about, and we saw some further bug fixes to go along with that. But overall, that is the Season 3 update here in a nutshell, and everything you can expect to see jumping into changes for multiplayer, Warzone, and DMZ. Of course, we will be touching on the weapon tuning upcoming here later on in the video in a couple of hours, so stick around if you guys are at all interested in that and learning more, because there actually were a handful of very substantial changes to weapon tuning across the board. But that said, that is what we're going to call it, so let me know your thoughts down below. Before we wrap everything up, again, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel, code Espresso, getting 30% off certain items like the tubs of Starfruit and Hype Sauce, two of my personal favorites here for the month of April. But if you guys are interested in that, 20% off with code Espresso on all items, but 30 on some certain specific ones as well. Linked below if you guys are at all interested, but for now, that's what we're going to call it. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down below. Again, drop those. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. We got a lot upcoming with Season 3 here, so make sure you stick it on the channel. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.